Hey co-stars, welcome to another episode of Generation Films. My name is British Ben and we have a Star Trek video for you today. You know, for an organization that doesn't have any money
doesn't exist in the 24th century.
Starfleet certainly knows how to build expensive looking ships with numerous luxury upgrades, like world-class sports facilities, yoga studios, concert halls, and always a big throbbing phallic object right at the heart of the vessel.
Hard to imagine how much energy is harnessed in there.
So in this video, I want to look at some of the rarest Starfleet ship designs, and some of these designs actually never made it on screen, and perhaps that's a good thing. Number 1, the Enterprise C original concept. When designer Andrew Probert designed the Enterprise D, the main ship that you see in Star Trek The Next Generation, he wanted to have a seamless design lineage. Now the Enterprise B was an Excelsior-class starship, and the Enterprise C was obviously right in between the B and the D, if you know your alphabet. So here's how Probert designed the C per his interview in Star Trek magazine in 2002. What I did was I took the side profile of the Excelsior and I took the side profile of the Galaxy class, then I put them in the same scale, one above the other, and I simply drew lines from one to the other at various important points. You see a model based on Probert's design for the C in the observation lounge on the Enterprise D. And this painting clearly depicts the saucer section looking very much like an Enterprise D saucer, but with the grills from the neck of the Enterprise B. And Igor Moss actually does a model of the unused Probert design. And yes, it was unused because by the time they came around to filming the episode Yesterday's Enterprise in season 3 of The Next Generation, Probert had already left the show and Rick Sternbach had taken over. He started with Probert's original concept, but he made some changes. Notably, he made the engineering hull more round for ease of fabricating the model. And this is what the final result looks like. You can see Sternbach kept many of the design elements. Now before we get into number 2, which is this awesome flying wing type ship, if you're not satisfied with just hearing about Star Trek ships and you actually want to build up and command your own fleet, I can recommend the free mobile game for iOS and Android, Star Trek Fleet Command. It features all of your favorite characters and ships from The Next Generation, J.J. Abrams' era, and many of the other Star Trek shows. You can operate from your base space station where you build your fleet and embark on missions. The game has monthly updates that keep the story engaging, and you can join alliances with your friends, upgrade your ships and station to maximize your resources and unlock your perfect ship model as you progress throughout the game. Ooh, is that Risa? Can I go there? Oh, not enough warp power. Better upgrade my ship. Oh, is that a Cardassian ship? I'll never forgive them for what they did to Bajor. Come on, boys, let's get them. Wahey, victory. A very big thank you to Star Trek Fleet Command for sponsoring this episode. Star Trek Fleet Command is free to play on iOS and Android, and you can download it with my link in the description of this video. Number 2, the USS Altair. The USS Altair was a ship that was originally developed as a concept for the USS Voyager by Doug Drexler and Michael Okuda. According to Drexler, the original concept for the ship came from these 1990s antennas on the backs of limousines. Millennials and Generation Z, don't feel bad if you've never seen one before. I had to look it up too. Here is the original concept produced in Adobe Illustrator. You can see that it is the car antenna for the saucer section, and the ship still has a neck and engineering hull. It was rejected as a design for Voyager, and then it was submitted for the NX class ship in the show Enterprise, and it was rejected for that too. Finally, when they were designing the Enterprise J for an episode of Enterprise, Drexler streamlined the design and the warp nacelles were used for that ship. Just the warp nacelles. There is, however, an alternative version of the Enterprise J, which is basically just a saucer section stuck on top of the USS Altair. And then later in 2006, the image of the sleek version of the USS Altair without the Enterprise J saucer section was printed in the Ships of the Line calendar, and it was labeled by Michael Okuda as the experimental Starship Altair. The ship was about half the length of a Galaxy class and much thinner vertically. The backstory for the Altair is that, like we said, it was an experimental vessel that was highly maneuverable at warp speeds and also highly capable in atmospheric flight. I'm sure the similarities with a wing-shaped stealth bomber are evident. But this high performance came with the drawback of extremely low power efficiency, and thus, like the US Navy's USS Zumwalt, which had 29 of its sister ships cancelled and for years was the only one of its class in service. The Altair also never went into production, and it remained the only one of its class. In some Star Trek games, the ship had a temporal warp core and was able to travel forward or back in time by 15 minutes. The design was later developed into the Cestus-class frigate, which served up to the 26th century. Number 3. The Rick Sternbach Voyager concept. Rick Sternbach is the artist who designed Voyager. The original concept that he designed for the show looked something like this. But this design was refined down to this simpler arrowhead shape with an angular engineering hull. Thank goodness they got rid of this airplane tail. After the design was approved on paper, Sternbach went and made a physical model so the producers of the show could see what it looked like in 3D. Yeah, he shouldn't have done that because it looked kind of lame. And the producers decided they wanted Sternbach to redesign the ship. They wanted a curvier model. Sternbach recalls producer Jerry Taylor's exact words. He wanted it curvier and more like a Lexus. To be honest, a Lexus doesn't even look that curvy to me, but whatever. So that's how the curvy Voyager came to be. Remember, not fat, curvy. But years later, the Star Trek Official Starships collection actually brought back Sternbach's original design with a CG model. I think it's interesting how similar the saucer looks to the Voyager J in Discovery. And there's also an Eagle Moss model of it that you can buy. Sternbach still likes the original and says, "A lot of fans like that look. I'm sure most of them would have accepted it as a final Voyager. I would have." I mean, he would say that about his own ship design, wouldn't he? Number 4. USS Aventine. The USS Aventine is never seen on screen. Instead, it appears in a lot of Star Trek novels and Star Trek games. In the novel Greater Than the Sun, the ship serves as a testbed for quantum slipstream drive in the year 2380. Remember quantum slipstream? The drive system that did this to Voyager. But I guess they'd ironed out some of the kinks by 2380. The ship was commanded by Ezri Dax. You know, the next incarnation of Dax after Jadzia passes away. Yeah, things were a little bit awkward between her and Worf.
You have said very little.
But anyway, she's given command of the Aventine, and she uses it to defend Trill from the Borg. In other novels, they use the quantum slipstream drive to ambush Borg vessels. The ship is incredibly streamlined, kind of like an Enterprise E on steroids. It also shares a lot of hull detail with the Enterprise E, like these black sections. After a fan petition, Eagle Moss even started making a model of the Aventine that you can see here. Number 5, the USS Emmet Till. This ship was designed by legendary designer of the Enterprise E, John Eves, for a hypothetical 8th season of Deep Space Nine. The ship was Perseverance class and would be commanded in the season by Ezri Dax. Ezri Dax again, why does she get all the best ships? The name is a reference to an African-American boy who was murdered because of his race and was a key catalyst for the civil rights movement in America. The design is an interesting one, including what looks like a forward shuttle bay that we have seen on the Akira class, 4 warp nacelles in the style of the Enterprise E, and a deflector dish which is quite an unusual shape for Starfleet. But DS9 Season 8 was only a hypothetical exercise for the documentary film What We Left Behind, and it appeared on the poster for the documentary. Alright guys, that is our rundown of 5 rarely seen Starfleet ship designs in Star Trek. Which one is your favorite? Leave your comments below. Again, a big thank you to Star Trek Fleet Command for sponsoring this episode, and if you want to try out the game, click on the link in the description below. It is free to play and it's available on iOS and Android. Please subscribe to the channel if you're new, and we'll see you next time. Bye bye.